Georgia beats South Carolina 24-14, and one of the biggest differences in this game, Georgia was 1 for 2 in the red zone in the first half, 3 for 4 in the second half. I'm joined by our Georgia beat writer, Chip Towers. Chip, what kind of differences did you see in this game from that first half? Georgia doesn't score a touchdown, miss a field goal, to then turning it around and really getting things started in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, it was a whale of change, at halftime. And, Kirby Smart talked about it. It's like my first question to him, the first question in the press conference was, what was said at halftime? And he said, really not much. They were calm and everything. But, two things. Spencer Rattler was just, blowing up. He was really sharp. Whatever their script was, to start the game, it was dead on. And so certainly getting pressure on him in the second half, I thought was a big thing. But just Georgia getting that ball to start in the second half and then going down and doing something with it really fast, got the momentum, and momentum really stayed on Georgia's sideline the rest of the game. So a lot of adjustments at halftime, offensively and defensively, and that allowed Georgia its biggest comeback since Missouri last year.
Kirby Smart gave the crowd a huge shout out. Honestly, Sanford Stadium stayed packed despite torrential downpour, but let's talk about how that Georgia defense kicked things up a notch in the second half. You have Javon Bullard out.
Yeah.
One of your best players, one of your most vocal leaders, he's out. Michael Williams has a big game for you.
Yeah.
How did you see Georgia kick things into gear in the second half?
Yeah, well, it was really a critical play in the first when South Carolina scored the first time. It was interesting. Georgia, it's 3rd and 16, and Georgia's blitzing. They don't normally do that in that situation, and they took advantage of it. Spencer Rattler, caught Juice Wells and across the middle, right where the linebackers would have been. They scored. But Georgia, instead of backing away out of that, they really brought it in the second half, and they were bringing it up through the middle with their linebackers. But Michael Williams out on the edge, Kirby called him tonight maybe one of the best pass rushers they've had in a long time, and he was able to get 2 sacks, numerous pressures, and make Spencer Rattler uncomfortable. He was so solid. I'm talking about big time in the first half, and he was still that same guy in the second half. But Georgia just had him on the run, and he wasn't able to do what he was able to do in the first half.
I asked Georgia quarterback Carson Beck what makes running back Daijun Edwards special as a player. Take a listen.
He just wants it. Obviously, he's been out, and he's been wanting to get back out on the field. But he's a dog. That's what we do. He wants it more than some guys, and he's going to make guys miss. He's going to run. He's going to get extra yards after contact. I'm just super proud of the way he played.
118 yards for Edwards and a touchdown in his first game back from injury. How huge was it for this Georgia team to get a guy like that back? It
was big. Kirby kind of quietly said something last week about, our backs are permitted to break a tackle, or something else. So, he was talking about there's a lot of criticism for Georgia's offensive line, and Georgia just hadn't been able to run the ball as effectively as maybe they should have been able to in the previous 2 games. In this game, second half in particular, amazing. Amarius Mims goes out with an ankle injury. Georgia brings Xavier Truss from left guard to right tackle. They were missing Austin Blaskey, who would normally back him up, and Dylan Fairchild stands up into the guard position. Georgia, to be able to do that with all that shuffling around the line was pretty amazing. Great job by Georgia's offensive line. Unbelievable job by Daijun Edwards, and now you see what you've been missing.
Carson Beck spoke about how he learned more about this team. Kirby Smart said this too.
Yeah.
They both said, we learned more about ourselves, and we found a lot out about ourselves today. Of course, that's not surprising considering, you were blown out UT Martin.
Yeah.
And then you get an SEC opponent to really challenge you a little bit. What'd you learn about Georgia today moving forward into their SEC slate?
Well, I learned that they are resilient, and Kirby likes to throw away around their pillars, composure, resiliency, and all that. And, those of us who covered the team, you just, but it was true tonight. And Dan Jackson, I was talking to, he says, we don't want to be tested, but he said we probably needed to be tested because you got to think, they've won these games by an average of 30 points a game at home, not just this year, but over the last 3 years. And so you had that test last year on the road against Missouri. I thought that helped Georgia overall as the rest of the year went. I think this win will help Georgia down the line. We'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of things to fix, but what they did answer was they can have their backs against the wall and come out fighting, and they did that tonight.
Chip, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks to all of you for watching. Make sure you go to ajc.com or subscribe to our YouTube channel to find more videos just like this one.